Hello, welcome to Sunday Night with me, Kwaku Nhyira-Addo. This is the show that brings you conversations with very interesting people who have blazed the trail and achieved and made impact both here at home and around the world. I promise you some insights, some intrigue, and inspiration. Our guest who is hosting us today is a medical doctor, a PhD, and just recently was the executive director of the National Population Council of Ghana, Dr. Leticia Adelaide Appiah. Happy to have you on Sunday night.
Thanks for having me, Sher.
It's been a while coming. We've been planning this conversation for quite a while. And there's a question that's been burning on my heart. Oftentimes we're told, you should do family planning. And then you look at global population statistics, and China has lots of people, over 1.5 billion in one country. And today, they are the world's manufacturing hub. So there's something good in numbers. Why should we be bothered with this family planning malad?
Well, thank you so much, Sher. Yes, numbers are good, but the quality of the numbers, it's more important. You know, let's go back to China, because you're talking about China. If China haven't done what they did, they would have been more than today.
Okay.
Because at that time, each woman was having about 6 children. So the population would have been more than the billion we're talking about today. But what would have been the quality? That is why they planned. And so it's not just about the numbers, but it's about the quality of the numbers. You can have the human beings, but if you do not do the targeted, relevant investments in them, you will not be the great nation that you so wish to be. Nigeria is many. China is many. Why is China prospering, Nigeria not? It's because you have to plan, which is biblical. Even the Bible entreats us to plan. You plan so that you will get to where you want to get to. Just increasing in numbers without relevant quality has never taken any country from third world to first world, and we will not be the first.
Wow. Well, that's very succinctly put. But, I mean, generally Ghanaians are of great quality. We're busy building the rest of the world but our home nation. What are we doing, or what could we do differently to ensure that as we head towards this demographic dividend, or some are calling it a potential catastrophe, that we're able to harness the fact that in another 12 or so years, 3 out of 5 young people will be on this continent?
You know, you mentioned demographic dividend, and just listen to yourself, dividend, which means you have invested and you are reaping. You cannot talk about dividend if you haven't put money in the bank. You can only talk about dividend when you have made the relevant investment. So with the humans, if we make the relevant investment in nutrition, in health, in education, then we can talk about dividend. You know, yes, we have the resources on the continent. You always talk about potential, but what about the opportunities for them? Every continent or every nation has potential. As long as you have human beings, you have potential. But how do you actualize the potential? That is the question we should be asking. We always talk about in the next 12 years, the future. What about the present? China is not talking about future. It's talking about present willpower, and then present, a state that is presently very, you cannot ignore China now. You get it? And they're not talking about future. They're talking about now. So why do we always keep talking about future? It's because we are not doing the relevant investments now. And we think that the future it would yield results. No, it would not. If you have a baby today and you do not feed that child well, you do not educate that child well, you do not keep that child healthy, there's no way that child in future is going to get educated, healthy, and productive. Because what you sow is what you reap. It's also biblical. You know. So it is important that we know that there are certain things we can influence and certain things you cannot. Quality of the human capital in the 21st century, you cannot influence. The numbers you can. the World Bank talks about GDP per capita. They never talk about the number of people you have. Because the number of people you have is your choice. But the GDP per capita, that is the quality of life, the Human Development Index, that is what they measure. So if Norway has 5 million, they will measure the Human Development Index. If we have 30 million, they will measure the Human Development Index, irrespective of the numbers. So the capital accumulation, it's for me so paramount. I mean, the quality quantity should balance. You cannot have so many and poor quality. What we do also, you said there are a lot of Ghanaians outside. Yes, of course. Because the human being yearns for good things. That is the soul we have. We get attracted towards good things. And so if you cannot find the good where you are, you would move. Either legal migration or illegal migration. You think those who go on the deep sea and die are insane? No, because they want a better life. So why shouldn't we look at what we can influence, what we cannot influence, and create the quality life here for us?
Let's look at how others have done it. Okay, Norway is a great example. 5 million people. They have a sovereign wealth fund that's over $1 trillion. They did something. I mean, the social system in Norway is excellent. We're 34 million in Ghana. We have gold, we have bauxite, now we have lithium, we have oil. Everything you need as raw material that a country like Norway doesn't have and other advanced economies don't have. We have them. What have they done differently? And what are we not doing right?
That is what should tell you that is the human capital that is the most important capital, not the natural resources. Natural resources are about giving. What did we do to get the lithium and the gold? Nothing much. But we can harness our own capital, the human capital, and then transform the ore into earrings. You see, God would not turn the ore into earrings for you. We have to do that. So now we focus on what is important. It's in the Bible. It says focus on what is important and everything else will follow. Seek ye first the kingdom. And for me, the kingdom on this earth is the human capital. When you seek first the human capital, you can transform, you can make rain fall when you want to. You can transform your ore into gold. I mean, your ore into earrings, ornaments. You can transfer your fossil fuel into to fuel your cars. You can even manufacture the cars. But if you do not look at the human capital, then you'll be sitting on your natural capital and still die in poverty. So you'll be out where water is and still be thirsty. Because, you see, God created us as co-creators. There are certain things God will do and there are certain things that we should do. God will give you a human being. He will never give you a doctor. He will give you a human being. He will never give you an engineer. You understand?
That's right.
So engineer, it behoves us to create, co-create. Likewise, human beings can never make other babies. We just carry what God gives us. So God has a role and we have a role. But if we say, then we are missing the point. Because God gives us and gives us the wherewithal to take care of the children, to nurture them so they can harness the natural resources. You can pray over cassava as much as you want, it will never turn to fufu. You can do whatever, chant over it, it will never turn to gari. And you can also not make cassava, but you can make fufu, you can make gari. That is the linkage. So God gives us the humans, and then we turn them. China realized that the rate at which they were producing, they were not going to be able to harness their human capital. That's why they did what they did. So nations should decide what we want to do and follow it. You listen to the debate in the US. It's all about population. When they are talking about reproductive health and they're talking about migration, it's population. So central to the debate in the US for election of president is population, fertility and migration. Population is just fertility, mortality and migration. But nobody talks about mortality because everybody wants to reduce mortality and grow old, healthy, long life. So if US has as central to their debate fertility and migration,
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
You know, you got me thinking. So we have, and I believe Ghanaians are naturally talented and gifted people. But whose responsibility is it to harness human resource and turn it into human capital? Should it be at home or should it be government-led?
It's government policy with individual responsibilities. Government leads, but then we have responsibilities as individuals. Let's go back to the US. Who is talking about migration and reproductive health?
So that's Trump.
Trump and
Biden both.
Exactly, both of them from different directions. But then when it comes down, it is the individual that we are guided to make the relevant, useful choices.
Okay.
Everything we do is policy driven, but we ultimately choose, have responsibilities. Why are we driving on the left or right? It's government responsibility, but then individuals, it's government policy, but individuals obey based on the structures that have been put in place. Okay. You understand? That's why in the US, you cannot have your children on the street, even though they are yours. Government policy says every child should be in school because they know that an uneducated child is a threat to the child and to society. And so they have a policy that does not accommodate street children. You get it? And so if you have policies that are indifferent to street children, that is what you get. Whatever you are indifferent to, you get more of it.
Is policy the panacea, or there's more than just policy? Because you can say, here's the law, act so and so, every child should be in school, but
then you operationalize it. So you hold, you make first, you have to make schools available in the vicinities. Then you have to take as human beings respond to rewards and punishment. That is how human beings.
Carrot on stick, huh?
Exactly. That's why the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not, that is how we are made. Otherwise, why do the whites come and they wee wee on the street? They go there, they don't wee wee. So we respond to punishments and rewards. So if I, for instance, as a parent, in Ghana, the child is 18 years, right? And so if I let my 18-year-old, for instance, loiter around and something happens, I should be held responsible. But if the law would let me go scot-free, then of course I would also be an irresponsible parent. So yes, it has to be there, but then we have to operationalize it and know that as citizens we have responsibilities because all of us are states, and so all of us have to do things to make sure that the policies that the government puts in place we work with it. Just look at the Ghana card. Government said Ghana card. Did government do the Ghana card for you?
No, I got up and went.
You got up and went.
And queued and did it.
And queued and did it. Because you cannot do anything now without the Ghana card. So that is policy driven. I don't think that the government was begging us, oh please, we beg you, nice people, when you have time, go and do it. And if you don't do it, nothing happens, and who would bother? But government policy puts measures in place, make sure that everybody can have access to it, and make sure that when you go to the bank with that Ghana card, you cannot do anything. So that is how policies are operationalized.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, you served as the executive director of the National Population Council, just gone from retirement, which I still find difficult to believe. When you look back at the work you've done, what were some of the things that you saw that you feel require urgent change or prioritization? And what things have we done, or policies that you saw or things you did there that we need to focus and turbocharge?
As Christians, the beginning for me is key. And that's why the Bible starts with in the beginning. So the beginning of your life is so important to how your life turns out. So the National Population Council really looks at the fundamentals, the beginning. So you begin in good health. You begin in an environment where you are welcome, not accommodated. It's so important that you are welcome into a world, not accommodated. Because it will affect everything you do. It will affect your mental, your physical, your psychological well-being. And with that, you can now begin to harness your potential and live the life that you actually created to live. And that is what the MPC stands for. That's the beginning. The reason why I think MPC's job is difficult is that the people that we really, really are fighting for, we don't even know. They're not even born. Because if I say we should prevent teenage pregnancy, it means that don't bring a child into this world whose life will be compromised. The child doesn't know me, I don't know the child. You know, so it's difficult. We fight for ourselves. We do not fight for the most vulnerable. Who, for me, I think nations are built on vulnerable. If you're able to take care of vulnerable population, you take care of everybody, because then everybody has a better life. You know, so the NPC really looks at the foundation to make sure that everybody has a good start in life. That is really the mandate of NPC. So if I say plan your family, if you already have 2 children and you are struggling with the 2 children, NPC says, why don't you invest more in these 2 that you have, instead of bringing a 3rd and leaving them on the street? Because it doesn't benefit that child, it doesn't benefit the family, and it doesn't benefit any society. So that is what NPC really...
At the policy space, I mean, evidently we have all the policies to enhance the human capital that we have. Where have we, for the lack of a better expression, failed to achieve that goal of leveraging the population we have?
I think that we have not really prioritized and known the importance of reproductive health information and services. Rwanda has moved that from a taboo area to priority number 1. So for them now, since 2000, reproductive health information and services is an economic intervention.
Wow.
Yes. They have put it so central to economic development. But I don't think we have really appreciated the enormous power of reproductive health information and services. That can derail everything. For instance, we have programs like LEAP, which is a good program. I, assuming I'm a beneficiary of LEAP, and I have 2 kids, you ignored my reproductive health information and services, 36-year-old, still married, conjugal relations, and then I get pregnant with a 3rd one. LEAP erodes. I will not have the energy to continue, and the expenditure increases. And so
whatever you're giving will not be sufficient.
Will not be sufficient. Because in my mind, LEAP, we should be reducing the number of LEAP cases if we're supposed to make the needed impact. Because if there were this number of poor people and you are giving LEAP and taking them out of poverty, then it should be reducing to 0. And then finally we close LEAP. But if the numbers keep increasing, then it means there's something we're not doing well. So what people have done, like Thailand did when they had those issues, was that yes, they will do LEAP, but they will also have a collateral, that is, give you reproductive health information and services, so that you can protect yourself and protect the money and come out of poverty. Because you do not come out of poverty by having many children. It's only in mass that you multiply negative, you get positive.
You get positive.
I don't know how that one works, but that is only in mathematics. But in the real life, if you multiply poverty, you get more of poverty. You know, so you cannot pick and choose one. You cannot pick and choose basic education without reproductive health information and services. You cannot say you want to educate children, but you do not have water facilities for children in their menses to, you know, and it's all reproductive health information and services. Services are not just family planning. Water, sanitation are all part of reproductive health information and services. So we can talk about it, but if we do not put measures in place, it will not work. Why don't we have children with polio on our streets? Because we have spoken about it and we have made services available. So it's not just about talking. It's about walking the talk. We say polio is not good, so we immunize our children. Now they are scattered all over in the country, immunization centers. So you can just walk in distance for the services. And so you eradicate polio. That is policy with us being responsible because we've been guided. So that is it. I think we have not really appreciated the importance of reproductive health information and sex. But we will definitely one day realize it, because we will see that that is the missing link. And the earlier the better for all of us.
Indeed. I mean, listening to you, it's evident that central to our development is not the resources we have, but the human beings. And just taking the absolute numbers is not enough. We should have plans to ensure that we're deploying them into very profitable, productive sectors, and that they can live their full potential.
Yes.
You've pretty much lived your full potential. Recently, you published your book. Is this the first book?
Yes, it's the first.
Wow. Okay. Human resource to human capital: the essence of population management. I want us to dive into the book for a bit, and I've skimmed through it and found some very, very interesting nuggets. Now, population management. I mean, generally the theory is clear that, I mean, the examples, China did that with their one-child policy.
Which was not.
It wasn't something they liked.
It's not something they liked, and also what they did was a bit abnormal.
Okay.
Because you see, population is replacement. And you cannot replace, it takes a man and a woman to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
You right? And so China did a man and a woman replaces one person. That's why they have the biggest challenge. You get it? So the replacement level fertility in the books is 2.1.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no 0.1 child. And so between 2 and 3. You get it? So 2 to replace mother and father, 1 for insurance or backup. That is it. Everything below is under, everything above is excess.
Wow. That's interesting.
So that's what government policies do. Of course, government cannot restrict you from having 10 children if you so wish. But government doesn't have to pay for all 10.
That's interesting.
Because I am a medical doctor. I also did a PhD. Government didn't pay for PhD. But government cannot say I cannot do a PhD. You understand? Because there's something that government should give everybody. And then, if you are rich, you can have access. It's like the plane.
Mm-hmm.
We all want to go to New York. But the basics are there. They give you food. They give you a chair to sit. If you have a lot of money, then you can get wine to drink, and then champagne to drink and stretch your legs. But for the basics, it's all there. But I'm sure that if the plane said, oh, you can be poor but still have business class, I'm sure we'll all sit in business class.
But it'll be very full. I'll be the first in there. Well, Doc, so this book, what inspired you to pen this book?
What inspired me? I'm on retirement now. And
I like how you're reminding us that you don't look a day above 40, but you're now 60 and you're in retirement.
Yes. I realized that I still had a lot to give, and that's one. And then also, I don't think that Ghanaians had understood what I stood for or what I think we should do. And so I put it in the book. Most of the time when you talk, you can be misinterpreted, misquoted. Then you are there, no, this is not what I said, this is what I said, and all that. And I thought that putting it in the book, that there will be no debate or negotiation about whether that is what she said or not. But then everybody should have a copy so that we should have the national debate. Because I think we should have a national debate. I don't think we are where we want to be.
Where do you think we can be, and why do you feel we should have a national debate?
Because it's very expensive to look very cheap. It's expensive to look cheap. That is why it's expensive to get a second-hand car, to have a child who is malnourished. Because treating malnutrition is more expensive than having a healthy baby. And if we do not do the needful, we will spend a lot of money repairing broken children instead of nurturing healthy children. And that's what we'll do. If you have a fistula repair, for instance, it's needless. It's man-made. But if we look at what we're supposed to look at and prevent it, then we can make savings for other places. So we will spend a lot and get very little returns. Now let me be a bit this. We're talking about, I remember last week there was Nkrumah and President Nana-Addo, our first president, and then people were saying, this did better, this did better. You know something? Nkrumah did wonderful. He had to deal with 5 million population. 5 million. Now we are currently 32 million. And so, assuming you have to provide education for a population of 5 million, that is children and adults. Mm-hmm. And then now you have to provide education for a population of 32 million. Even the children alone are more than 5 million. Mm-hmm. So the children now are more than
the entire population
Nkrumah had to deal with. So why is that not important? So why shouldn't that influence everything that we do? We talk about Norway and other countries. From that time in Nkrumah to today, they have multiplied 2.5 times. They haven't been done 3 times. Mm. And we have done 4 or 5 times. So why wouldn't there be stress? So why shouldn't that influence everything? Why don't we have to look at the foundation? That will translate into healthy education, healthy school feeding, healthy roads, healthy everything, and tax paying. Population is very pervasive, and so you have to focus on it. Now let me just give you a little scenario to sum it up, and okay, maybe you can visualize it later. We talk about China, we talk about Africa. Assuming a population of 100, mm-hmm, in China or globally, out of this 100, you will have 26 of them as children. In Africa, you will have 41 out of 100 as children. Assuming the adults in that population are doing the same work, getting the same amount of money, and paying the same taxes, which group, A or B, would have better quality for their children?
The ones with 26, of course.
The ones with 26, of course. And it's not just about resources, it's about time. Because everybody will have 24 hours. And you also have to engage your children so that morality and value clarification is also embedded in them. And you have to work at the same time. Mm-hmm. So that is the discussion of population. It's not just absolute numbers. The numbers are 100 in both, but the dependency.
There's a lot more time if you have 26 children to 100 population, yes, than when it's 41.
Exactly. That is why the numbers in China are very productive now. Because it's not just the absolute numbers, but the proportions. The number of adults taking care of children. And so you do not have schools without toilets in China. You do not have, even though there are many, you do not have one miserable teacher to 100 pupils in the classroom. And that is what influences the quality.
Wow. Now that is a very interesting image. So if now I compare what we've achieved in Ghana at 32 million and the length of time from 65 years, yeah, we went from 5 million to 32 in our lifetime. China has done their numbers and all right, but if you look proportionately, we've grown rapidly.
Of course,
we've gone ahead of what we could actually manage.
Yes, we have. It's like rain. When it comes in torrents, it floods. Mm-hmm. But when it's showering,
percolates.
You know, so it's the same rain. It's the same human being. But if it comes in torrents, you cannot do the relevant skill acquisition. And so everything becomes arts, even though you need the arts and sciences. And so you transform your engineering into literature classes, you know, so the children can visualize, but then hands-on. Because you need hands-on, and you need supervision. And that is why they have the teacher-people ratio, which you cannot circumvent.
You know, it's interesting, but I'm thinking back. Growing up, we all heard about, permit me to probably make this mistake, because I remember somewhere in either my first exposure to economics, we did something on population. And there's the talk of how we were largely an agrarian society. So every man wanted, actually this was in traditional studies, every man wanted to have as many male children as possible because they become farmhands.
Yes.
today every young woman wants to get married and have children. And as controversial as it may sound, there are some who don't want to marry, but they want to have children. So it's ingrained in us to want to reproduce.
Of course.
But it is not the government's policy that determines whether I should want to have children or not. And so how do we now ensure that I am able to live my dream and have as many children as I want, but as a community or as a nation, we all benefit?
Well, you see, we benefit from each other. You get it. As a medical doctor, well, you get to treat yourself once in a while, but majority of the time, somebody treats you. You get it. An architect, you benefit. I mean, how many buildings can the architect build for himself? But then he helps others. So we are so interdependent. That is why a little freedom curtailed from here so that we can all be free. You know, a little freedom so we can all be free. I don't think that the government asked us to pay taxes and asked whether we wanted to pay taxes before we are paying taxes. He just decided that we needed taxes because we need to build our place. So the government can still guide us. The government cannot tell you not to have 6 or 7 or 8 children. No, the government cannot do that. But like I'm saying, and I'll repeat, the government doesn't have to pay for all 6 or 8. Just look at our NHIs. Cosmetic surgery is not part of it. But people are doing cosmetic surgery. The government gives you the basics. The government provides the basics for you. The basics that you have a comfortable, normal life. But then any additional should be on you. That is what they have done even in the developed world. Because they know the importance of reproductive health information and services. You know, Office of Population Affairs in the US gives reproductive health information to everybody, whether you are immigrant or not. Because they know that if they do not do that, and you have an unintended pregnancy, the cost is more. Life is about efficiency. So where would you... I think wisdom is about getting to the goal in the best way. There's good, bad, and there's better, best. Wisdom is getting to where you want to get to in the best way, not in the good way. As for bad, it's not even part of it. But not good or better, but in the best way at the prevailing time, you know. And so we'll have to decide. Can everybody just have 6, 7, 8 children so that our schools are full, so that afterwards we cannot have employment for them, and then social network, so everybody becomes part of the social network? Social network works when very few people need social network, not when majority of us need social network. That is why it's social network. Very few should need social network. And in life, there are rules and regulations that you obey, and it inures to your benefit. You defy and you pay for it.
Wow. Doc, I'm very happy you talked about social network and social services and all of that. The UK has housing, they have unemployment benefit, they have all sorts of benefits for social cohesion and to support the vulnerable people. In Ghana, we have free SHS, for example. It's a brilliant idea, but I like the fact that you're saying we've got to be careful we don't overburden the horse and bring it onto its knees. What has the UK done differently? Especially remembering that the Conservative Party came into office and they trimmed what benefits people can get aggressively.
Well, you know, benefits in the UK, like, I mean, let's just go back a bit. You know, because human beings create the benefits so that others, probably in the vulnerable, can benefit. And so the human being is important. In the UK, the land size is basically the same, very similar to Ghana's land size. And the population, it's about twice. You know, they're about 66 million. But the interesting thing is, we have more children below the age of 0 to 15 than the UK has.
Wow.
Which means that UK's taxpayers are less burdened than the Ghanaian taxpayer. And so they can have leverage to look at the social network. If you have a country where your teenage pregnancy rate is 15.2, yes, which means out of every 1,000 population, you have 150 of them pregnant as teenagers. That is a big social network that we need to cater for. And if you have less than, I think UK is less than 2%, which means that their children are in employment and getting productive. And we have a lot of people not in education, not in training, not in employment. Mm-hmm. So look at the numbers. How can the social network accommodate for housing, for all that, by the working population? Mm. So it's always about who is working and who is not working at any point in time. That is really the population discourse, agenda. How many people are working? How many people are not? Because if people are not working or people are bedding, social network will not work. Look at what happened in COVID. Look at what happened. A lot of people went into deep poverty because there's no resilience, there's no store. We're living from hand to mouth because we are spreading so thinly. So social networks work when very few people need the support. And at times, in the US, there was something they did. They realized that the social network they were giving the girls, you have a first child, a teenager, and they give you social network. The second one, they come on. So they told them that after the first, you either seek a method and work or no social network. And the teenage pregnancy rate came down. You understand? Mm. So what you entertain, you get more of. Mm-hmm. I'm sure if they had 2 or 3 and the state was still accommodating and doing everything,
they would have had more.
They would have had more. But because they said yes, the first one can be a mistake. But the second one gets the right information so that you can be in control of yourself and your body is not the one controlling you. So you can take care of yourself because there's more dignity in working than in begging. Mm-hmm. So the social network issue is always about who is working and who is not working. If you have more than half of your population not working, which means the whole country is social network.
Mm. So the taxes required to provide the services will be borne by the few.
Exactly.
And Enso.
Look at our country currently. The public service. The average salary is about 3,000 Ghana cedis, less than $300. So that is your salary. How much taxes? Even if 50% of your salary is taxes, 1,500. How much is the cost of the road?
Roads, hospitals, schools, bridges, all of these.
All of these. Mm. So you keep borrowing because you are not generating a lot more internally. But then if you have a country like I read from Singapore, the salary of 2,000, which means that you are poor, $2,000. Mm-hmm. Yes. So if you are earning $10,000, $20,000 and you are paying even 5% tax, and you have this cohort paying 5% of their taxes, compared to us, 3,000 Ghana cedis paying 50% of the tax. Look at the quantum. So it is important that we look at the human capital. And if we do not look at the human capital, harnessing the natural capital, people will come and do it for us. And so we will end up just buying and selling and not producing, harnessing natural resources.
Wow. Now, I promised our audience some intriguing conversation. This is even more than I bargained for. Now, let's go into the realms of some very bold statements about the future of this nation. It's evident that no matter where we go, whatever we do, it's all going to come down to the people.
Yes.
The quality of the people. In 10 years, what do we need to do to change the situation and truly harness our human capital? And what would be the consequence if we don't?
We need to decide. The first thing you need to do is the goal. You need to decide where you want to get to. And that should inform the steps you take. Not your wishes, not your caprices, not your opinions, not your culture, not anything. So we wish to decide where we want to go. If we want to stay competitive locally and at the global stage. Now people are teaching their children coding at 4 years. China has started a program, coding at 4 years. Our children are selling chewing gum on the street. Is that where we want to go? That on the street selling can never lead you to coding. So we have to decide exactly where we want to go. And I think that if God gives you gold, all these natural resources, then you have the human potential to harness this. Because He will not give you something that you cannot benefit from. But if you do not, like the mustard seed, put it in the ground, in season, bury it, nurture it, you can keep it on the table and it will remain a seed forever. So if we do not take our time to do the important things, which at times are not very interesting and not sexy, but that is what gives returns, and nurture every single child to harness their potential, the inequality gap will be widening. You know why inequality gap is widening globally?
Sure.
It's because we are staying behind and the world is moving forward. That is because the world is not waiting for us. That is why the inequality gap is widening. Formerly, we were very close. In the 18th century, we were all farming. So they were also having 15 children to till the land. Is that not what happened in the UK? Yes. But then when they realized industrialization, they realized, no, the human capital is more important. So let's focus on it. So they reduced it. So for them, their goal is good quality life. So if reducing the numbers will give us the quality life that we so need, so be it, especially with mortalities reduced. But if for us, we will stay and hope that everybody changes around us, then we'll probably go into extinction. Extinction not physically, but irrelevant. Life is about relevance.
Indeed it is. Let's go back into time, into your life. I know you don't like talking about yourself much, but how did your time in Ola shape you?
You know, Ola is a Catholic church. I mean, it's a Catholic school. I'm a Catholic, born Catholic, still Catholic. And I think there's one incident that really, I haven't shared this before, that really brought things down to me. You know, I'm tall. And I was in St. Cecilia's house. And so they were looking for athletes. So they thought because I was tall, I was a good athlete. And I also thought because I was tall, I was okay. So I didn't do any training. I would just lay in my bed and say, oh, look at these short people. When I take one, they will take 3 to catch up. So nothing. Then the day came, we went on the track. And I didn't get anywhere. I didn't even complete. I wasn't even last. You know, you are last when you complete.
You had a DNF, did not finish.
You know, so then I realized that you can have the potential, but you need to harness it. That is where it really dawned on me that, yeah, you can have long legs, but if you do not train, it will not benefit you, or you will not get the desired result. So that's one lesson that Ola taught me, that yes, you can have the brains, but you have to harness it. You can have, everybody has potential, but if you do not harness it, you will die with your potential. So that was my race. And after that, nobody even called me to realize that.
But the lesson was learned.
The lesson was learned. I never shared it with anybody.
Wow.
But the lesson was learned. And I felt so bad. I didn't do any training. I said, no. So people.
What was it like in your home growing up? What sort of home did you grow up in?
My father had 50 of us.
Wait, 50?
50. In fact, more than 50.
Okay.
Yes, but my mommy had 3 of us. And so basically like a single parent. In fact, that is why I think that children should really matter in the choices adults make. Because the home environment where mother and father are there gives you so much confidence, so much. That was something I really, I don't envy so many things, but that's something when I was young I really envied, you know.
To have both parents in the
Not even to have, my mommy was there, so that was not it, but to have a father walk with you, put you on his neck, you know, things people took for granted. Yeah. I said, why can't everybody have this? You get it? Yeah. So that was it. So there are over 50 of us.
Wow. And so you grew up with 2 other siblings and your mother?
I grew up with 2 other siblings and my mother. My big sister was 2 years older than me. and then the one after me, who I'm 10 years older than. So.
And that's a female as well?
We all girls.
Oh, wow.
I had 3 girls.
And you replicated?
I have 3 girls, yes.
That's interesting. You know, but I'm sure you had fond memories growing up. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Accra, Newtown.
Okay.
Yes, Accra, Newtown. I went to NT1 primary school.
Fantastic.
Yes, I was there recently. After launching the book, I decided to donate 10% of the proceeds to them.
The school, oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so we're still on it. So I went to Accra, Newtown 1 primary school. I remember Antiago was a lady who sold kinky and very nice mackerel. And so break time, we will all just rush.
Go straight to Antiago.
Go straight to Antiago and get your food, eat, and then come back. And so.
Wow. At what point did you decide that you wanted to pursue medicine?
You know something? After Ola, I went to Achimota School for my 6th form, 82 to 84. And in short, my best subject was maths. You know, in Achimota, I got the maths and physics prize, and the boy said I was a witch, you know, coming from Ula, and then who is this tall? I was very skinny. Tall girl come and then do all this. So I really wanted to help. I don't like seeing people suffer. I really don't like seeing people suffer. That really gets, and especially children, because I think children are supposed to be loved and cared for. If we want a good nation, we always talk about what can you give your nation, not what the nation can give. But the nation should give you when you're a child. Then afterwards, the nation can demand from you. If the nation leaves you on the street, it has no business demanding any good from you. You know. So I hate to see people suffer. And so where else? When you do maths and physics, you either go into engineering and all that, and you deal with more metals and yeah. So I thought that medicine was a good. And my mommy also, you know, in Ghana when you were a doctor and a lawyer, I think they respect you. But now I know they have no money. You know.
I'm sure you have no regrets becoming a medical doctor.
I have no regrets, actually. I have no regrets. But I think we could do better in the sense that healthcare is a shared responsibility. We need to have programs that educate people on how to keep their health. Public health is when everybody does little, then together
it becomes a lot.
It becomes a lot. That is why I think the missing link is we're focusing too much on curative care. You are sick, you come, I treat you. You go back, you come, I treat you. But health is manufactured in the homes. How do we get people to own their health? To do the little things that will enhance their health. You know, we've been going to the gym for all this while.
Well, lately I don't, let me be honest.
Well, lately
because as you can see, my midsection is telling a story.
But it still benefits. You know, I've been exercising for the past, as old as my youngest daughter, who is 26. That's when I started exercising. And so you do little things so that together we're all healthy and reduce our health bill so we can put it somewhere else.
Fantastic. Now, as a medical doctor, I mean, you did work in Kolebu.
Yes, I did work in Kolebu.
The Kolebu has several wonderful stories. What are some of the things that you recall during your time, you know, working with patients or even your colleagues that brings a smile to your face?
You know, there was a certain woman who came around selling fish. Okay, I've forgotten her name. But she came around selling fish. And then she came with a child. She had about 6 or 7 children then. And then the child, she came with one that was about 2 or 3, but very small and at the back. So, and I like chatting with them because then you can help people better. Not only in the consulting room, but even outside. So this lady comes, I buy the fish almost every weekend. And then at times I give some of the fish back to her to go home and cook for the children. I'll be watching her, then she'll go and sell the fish again. You know, because she needed the money.
The money,
yeah. You get it. So one day she came and I said, why do you do that? She said, that's when she said she has about 6 children at home and she needed the money and so she does that. So I said, so why don't you prevent the pregnancies, because you are still young, so that you can take care of the ones you have. He said, it's God that gives and God would terminate it when God thinks it's okay, you know. So I was just thinking about how we are losing control of our lives. But God tells us, I put life and death. Choose. Which means that the control is with us. You know. But why do we give the control out to people? I studied outside in Ukraine. And so when I came back, all vim, all excited to work, I wanted to be an obstetrician, gynecologist, because that still fascinates me. That today you are here, then tomorrow you have a baby. Up to date is still, for me, I think it's the greatest mystery. And there, when the babies are born, the man will come with flowers, and then everybody is happy, and they are kissing the baby left, right, forward, back. And then in 6 months, the baby will come all beautiful, all bouncy and all that. So I wanted to be part of, you know, I told you I hate to see people sad. So I wanted to be part of the joy of all that. Then I had a rude awakening in Korle Bu. You come, and people have given birth all over the place. Some are lying on the floor, some nobody is coming for them. You know that. You get it. So, but one incident in Korle Bu that I would want to recall. There was this lady came, delivered the third girl, 3 girls. She had preeclampsia, which is a serious condition in pregnancy. Luckily, she was okay. So when she came for immunization, I called her and I said, I think that we're going to stop on the third. She said no. She discussed with the husband, and the husband wanted a boy. So they needed to come again. You know what? Nhyira, this woman got pregnant, came, it was a 4th child, a girl, she died, and left 3 children. So then I'm thinking, why are we focusing our education only on the women? Because women will listen and defer to men, and men can also influence other men. In that case, if we want a successful program, then the target should be the male involvement. And we should also look at public health. That is what really got me into public health. How do I let people make choices at home that will benefit them? Because it's a choice they made at home, and the woman lost the life.
You know, this is interesting. The man, obviously, and I hazard this guess that, you know, traditionally, a male child is important.
Yes, because the males carry your name. The women, we give our name for somebody else.
Well, not necessarily. Today, you can choose to carry your own surname even after you're married.
But they say, Mema, bro, Mema. They
never say Mama. They're forgetting our Xtra. You know, they're forgetting that there once existed a Asaase. But you know, how do we deal with our societal norms, traditional beliefs, in the interest of promoting population management?
First, we have to ask where we are. Are we okay? You know, like the prodigal son. He went looking for good life. He realized, no, it's not okay. Let me go back. So we have to, are we okay with where we are? Are we okay with our level of development? Are we okay with our level of recognition, our level of resilience, our level of acceptance? Are we okay with that? If we are not okay with that, what do we do as individuals, as a community, as a nation to get to where we want to get to? Life is about choices, and it's about determining where you want to get to and where you are currently. If you want to stay fit, you do not eat fufu in the morning, afternoon, evening,
and then guys go to sleep.
And just go to sleep. You do not do that. So if it is not okay, you don't like your health, then what are the changes that you have to make with your eating habits, with your exercise habits? So what are the changes that we have to make? Life has consequences, good and bad. Good and bad, they have consequences. So the choices that you are making, are the consequences okay for you? You know, there was a presentation I sat in from somebody from, I think, Singapore, and he said, there's so much in the world, so much variation in the world. So now what they do is you look at the variation, you select what is good for you, and you retain. So selection and retention in the variation. You don't need to reinvent any wheel. People who are rich because they are investing in their children. and it's even in country. Nations that are rich are prioritizing the welfare of their people. Nations that are poor are not prioritizing the welfare of their people. Probably through lip service they are prioritizing, but not in action. So what are the values? So you choose, you retain, and then you implement. So it's about selecting what you want, where you are, where you want to get to, what you want. If we think that God loves Ghana so much, so we can treat our children anyhow and still make it, I think God loves everyone.
Indeed, God does love everybody. And like you said, He's giving us the choice and the control to decide where we want to go as a people. What would you like to leave with our audience? Something to ponder on?
You know, I like this prayer. It's the serenity prayer. It's, God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
Mm-hmm.
Courage to change the things I can. And wisdom to know the difference. For me, I think the qualities that we need are calmness, which is humility, to say that probably we are not doing well, let's go back. That is humility. That's serenity. That 21st century, we cannot just focus on numbers without the relevant quality. That is coming to the humble realization. And then the courage to say, you know, we thought this was the way, but we think this is not the way. It's courage. It's only a fool who does not change his mind. And courage is so important for you to take a decision. That, like Paul, Saul telling Paul, I was doing this, but I think I'm now doing this. So courage. And wisdom to know the difference. You need wisdom to know that this you can change, this you cannot change.
So you dedicate the right amount of time.
Exactly, and resources to it. You need wisdom to change, to know that you cannot change, God will not change a human being to a doctor for you. You need wisdom to know that. And so you have the courage to harness the potential of all. So I think if we can adopt the serenity prayer, because it's about humility, it's about courage, it's about wisdom. And you cannot have wisdom without knowledge. So you need wisdom, but you need knowledge. And you need humility to accept and listen. At times when you are talking about population, everybody thinks they understand, but unfortunately many people do not understand. But they're not serene or humble enough to say, you know, this is what you have studied all these years for national development. Let's listen to you. Nobody argues with lawyers when they are talking, even though it's English, because that's their profession.
So aptly put.
You understand?
I do.
But when I'm talking, they said, oh, forget her, she's not understanding. I probably don't understand. So we need the serenity, the humility, the courage, and the wisdom.
And the wisdom. Fantastic. Well, Dr. Leticia Appiah, thank you so much for hosting us for Sunday night.
Thank you so much, Xtra, for having me.
And enjoy your retirement.
I will. Thank you. I am actually.
You are. I can tell you are enjoying your retirement. So where can one get a copy of these books to buy?
Well, you can get them from Book Nook. You can get from Amazon. You can get from me.
Okay.
And then you can also get from, let me give you a contact that will probably, you can also get from Leticia, not me, but the contact is 0244 838701.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, it's a good read. I've skimmed through it. I'm not going to dive into it, but you've got me super interested in matters of population. I've never really looked at it from the perspective that you shared. I'm super grateful. I'm sure our audience are better off for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you so much, Xtra,
Great.
for having me on your screen. Thank you.
5 things I'm taking away from this conversation. Number 1 is that potential will always remain potential until you put it to work. Doc talked about her attempt to outrun everybody because she thought she had long legs, and that was enough to win a race. Number 2 is that find things that you're good and happy to do and do more of it. No surprise, she went on to take the prize for physics and math at A-levels in Achimota School. And also, you must learn to develop, number 3, empathy. Develop empathy. Without empathy, you may live your life and think you're making an impact. But with empathy, you channel your energies into places where it touches lives and even affect people you'll never meet in this lifetime. Number 4 is that you should have your nation at heart. Many people leave the shores of Ghana and go and study, never come back. Dr. Appiah came back, worked as a medical doctor, went into public health, and if for nothing at all, she's left us with a book. Something that will get us all thinking. Whether you're a politician, whether you're an educator, whether you're a man, woman, for all of us, there's a lot we can learn from this. And number 5 is tenacity. I've known Dr. Appiah for quite a long time, and she's the one person who I admire in the gym. She gets on with it. Me and my friends, as you can tell, we get in and we chat plenty and do very little workout. But the importance of this lesson is that if you can stick to a task or a goal that you have set, you're 9.5 times out of 10 able to achieve it. So go forward, make way. It's been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you once again.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Next week, we'll bring you another intriguing, insightful, and inspiring conversation on Sunday night. I'm Kwaku Nhyira-Addo. Shalom.